Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Geek-Minded Fools. My name's Graham.
And I'm Scott.
As we mentioned in the last episode, we're actually at the London Super Comic Con.
We are indeed.
At Docklands in London over the weekend of the 14th and 15th of March. We've been here every year so far. It started in 2012.
We have indeed. This is the fourth one now, yes?
Absolutely.
We arrived last night on an express plane from directly from Woking. No, we came in your car, didn't we?
We did.
Of which on the journey, Graham, we saw probably about 3 or 4 versions of your car all in the same colour.
We did, and you were quite surprised about that.
I was quite surprised. I thought there was only one really shit car in the world, and that was yours. But
yes,
evidently
no,
not.
There are many clones.
There are many. So yeah, we arrived last night, Friday the 13th. Yep. My favourite day of the month.
Yes.
We didn't watch a Friday the 13th film.
Which you were quite disappointed about.
I was, yes.
Normally you do watch Friday the 13th every Friday the 13th.
I do. It is normally Friday the 13th part 3. I did offer you to watch Friday the 13th part 1, but unfortunately you were far too busy, being asleep.
Falling asleep, yes. I'm afraid that being that I do have children and yesterday was a school run day, I was up at about 5:30 in the morning, and of course then driving through London for 2 hours pretty much took it out of me. Plus, let's face it, we had a big dinner.
We did have a big dinner, yeah.
We both had a big dinner.
Well, it was a meal deal.
It was a meal deal.
So, of course, it being a meal deal, I went for the most expensive
item on the menu. Yes.
Which I must say I was a bit let down by. I was.
The mixed grill?
It tasted beautiful, but when you order a mixed grill, I expected a big, massive plate of meat.
Yes.
And I even told them to hold all the veg so they could fit more meat on.
More meat, yes.
But no, it was presented on a what I can only describe as a
platter.
A platter.
Yes, a small.
But they did win.
Platter.
They did win points back for not serving it to me on a breadboard like you get in some of these new fancy pubs.
Salmon on a breadboard,
which, as far as I'm concerned, can go fuck itself. Fortunately, there wasn't soup in a basket either, so that was good. But I think we've gone a little bit off topic there.
We have gone slightly off topic, yes.
It's not a good thing to do at the start of a podcast.
But that's the reason why I flaked out last night and Scott was up till 1:30 either watching Lockout on Film 4, which you thoroughly didn't enjoy.
No, it was awful. And I actually watched Cloverfield afterwards, and then Graham, I watched Alien vs Predator Requiem.
Good lord.
Yeah.
You really did go for it, but when I kept waking up and looking at you, you always seemed to be on your iPad.
Yeah.
You were iPadding it away.
I was doing bits and bobs of research for today.
Super.
Yeah. But yeah. So we're here.
Yes.
It's been a day.
It's been a fantastic day.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic day.
I would say this is now the 4th year we've been here, and this is probably the favourite day that I've had.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, mate. It's been my favourite one as well so far.
Had you said to me when I got up this morning, you will not only have your photo taken, but chat for quite a long time with 5 absolute cast iron comic legends. Not only that, but help Mark Miller, comic writer extraordinaire Mark Miller, carry his drinks from the bar.
Indeed.
And after he realised that he'd bought one too many, he offered that drink to you. I'd have told you were out of your mind.
Out of your mind, you're crazy. You're crazy
fool.
But no, exactly that happened.
It was just amazing. And one thing I will say about this con is they always get outstanding talent. The talent that they get, comic writers, comic artists, they don't just go for the big guns. They get a lot of indie people in here as well, independents, or I should say, publishers and writers and artists. And the talent pool or the talent that they get in just seems to be getting better and better. I mean, for 2 years running now, we've had Jonathan Ross. For the second time in 3 years, we've had comics legend Neil Adams. For the first time, we had Garth Ennis.
Yes.
Very, very famous writer of such things as Preacher, Hitman, Crossed.
Who is a lovely man, but for some reason intimidates me.
Scared me.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's because of how dark Preacher as a story is.
Right.
I kind of think in the back of my mind, that's got to have come from somewhere, that story. And it's come out of his head.
Come out of his brain.
Come out of his brain all. Yeah.
And John Romita Jr., son of the great John Romita, who was the second ever artist to draw Spider-Man. But he's forged out a massive career on his own. He's currently drawing Superman, but he's done Spider-Man, Avengers, you name it, the guy's drawn it. And
what did you say to him when you met him this morning, when you got your signing?
I said to him that I'm a big Spider-Man fan and he's my second favourite ever Spider-Man artist. And he sort of paused a beat and said, "Oh, okay, who's your favourite then?" And I said, "Your dad." And he went, "Oh, okay, I don't mind being second to someone on that list." Yeah,
which, for those of you who don't know, that wasn't just a cut, like your mum,
yes,
that sort of thing. His father was John Romita Sr., obviously.
Absolutely, an absolute comics legend. But one thing that surprised me, and obviously I've never seen the guy before, how little he was.
He is quite tiny, isn't he?
He can only be about 5'6", and obviously I'm quite a big strapping lad at 6'2", and I was amazed when he walked past.
He likes a pint of Guinness and all, doesn't he?
He does, doesn't he?
I think pretty much just to set the scene for you. I'm sitting in the pub waiting for Graham to turn up with a couple of friends, and I can see Mark Miller sitting there, and I kind of my friend Mark pointed him out to me actually and said, "Oh, look, there's Mark Miller," and I was okay, that's cool. But where I was sitting, I couldn't see who else was at the table. And it wasn't until Graham turned up that he informed me, "Well, that's John Romita Jr. sitting there as well." And I craned my head round. I was like, "My God, it is." And then Graham basically explained who else was at the table, because I'm not a knowledge of comics.
There was Klaus Janson, who is an artist, but probably most famous for inking a lot of Frank Miller's stuff. Now, Frank Miller's a huge comic creator. I mean, the stuff people know about is he did Sin City, which of course has been turned into 2 films. He did 300, which has been turned into 2 films. But really broke big in doing Daredevil, and it was in his Daredevil run.
Now, did he do what was the famous one that he did? Is it The Man Without Fear? Or is that
Frank Miller wrote that with art by John Romita Jr., funnily enough.
There you go.
And Frank Miller, he created the character Elektra and also killed off the character Elektra, and did a hugely popular run on Daredevil that really revitalised the character, and took a comic that was pretty much dying on its arse and turned into a big player. And Klaus Janson is famous for inking Frank Miller's pencils on that, but probably most famous for inking Frank Miller in the Dark Knight Returns miniseries, which is an absolutely groundbreaking Batman tale. And so
it's something everyone needs to own. If you've got any love for any sort of comic, graphic novel, you need to have that in your collection.
Absolutely. Next on the table was David Mack, a very famous writer and artist. He's created a character called Kabuki, wrote and drew that, and also he had a very famous run on Daredevil with Brian Michael Bendis, but just a hugely popular artist. So he was on the table, and the last one was Bill Sienkiewicz, who he's been around for ages and has done Elektra. He's done an awful lot of penciling, just a huge body of work. And these 5 absolute comic giants were just,
maybe not so much John Romita.
Okay, giants in body of work, if not stature. Scott and I got a photo taken with them, and we also rather cheekily got them to sign some books,
which you're not really supposed to do. I mean, we did. I popped over and just very briefly spoke to Mark Miller and said, "Look, would you mind? I've got all my Kick-Ass comics in my bag. Would you mind?" So he was like, "Yeah, no problem." I said, "I'll let you eat your lunch first, guys." And they'd ordered their lunch, and we very respectfully waited for them to eat their lunch. Unlike some people who would walk into the pub and just interrupting them,
diving straight in. Yeah,
we chose to be the good fans, as it were. And they were they were all very nice, very personable, weren't they?
Absolutely.
They were lovely. Mark Millar did unfortunately rip one issue of Kick-Ass for me. It's a story though, isn't it? And it's a great story.
Absolutely.
How did that happen, Mark Miller?
Mark Miller did that, exactly.
Well, the fact of the matter is, it's his book. He can do what he wants with it.
If I'd have torn it, you'd have been pissed off and there'd be no story attached to that.
There would be no story attached
but
to
the
it.
bloke who wrote it damaged that one.
Hi, this is Mark Miller, and you have the good taste to be listening to Geek-Minded Fools. All the best.
So I'm sitting, I'm kind of hovering there with Mark Miller to my left and John Romita Jr. to my right. Obviously, Miller wrote Kick-Ass and Romita Jr. Did all the artwork in it. It was just a surreal moment.
It was.
Even more surreal that John Romita Jr. said, there's a lot of these, isn't there? I'm like, it's kind of your fault, John.
You
did these.
Yes.
You did these.
You know there's 7.
And we were just massively, massively thankful. For more so that they did it in their own time, because that's this was outside the con. This was in the bar,
in the pub we frequent down the way.
Just the nicest people in the world.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is John Romita Jr. I'm here in London at the XL Centre for the London Supercon. Oh, and this is for geek-minded fools, just like me. I've had my first Guinness. I'm feeling very good. I'm gonna have a bite to eat, which means I'll lose my buzz. But I'm having a great time. People are wonderful. I love London and I love this show. And I've done Spider-Man. I'm presently doing Superman. And the Geek-Minded Fools are my best friends.
I think, did you not even get reeled in for some photography duties?
Yes,
you
yes,
did.
yeah.
Who was that? Was that Klaus Janssen?
No, that was Bill Sienkiewicz,
right? Okay.
Who said, "Oh, can you take a photo of us?" And we had to wait for Mark Miller, who was at the bar, and he bought
Mark Miller at the bar.
He bought some drinks over, and they'd say, "Come on, Mark, come over," and they were doing it, and he'd set it up in the wrong setting. I'd say, "It's not taking anything," and finally got the thing done, and. Yeah, just, lovely fellas. But to be sort of having normal conversations and having a bit of a laugh with 5 such massive comic legends. And obviously, to the non-comic initiated, they'll be saying, who, what?
Yeah, of course,
but
of course.
The only sort of equivalent you could do is, if you're a film fan and you walk into a pub and Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Martin Scorsese...
all sitting at a table together,
yes,
yeah,
precisely.
very much so.
Francis Ford Coppola are all sat there, and you just go up and have a chat with them.
Yeah, these genuinely are the heavheaveights.
Absolutely,
they are the big players. For me, the finest moment was just as you popped back to the table. John Romita Jr. said, "Well, guys, I've got to go because I've got this charity auction thing." And the next words out of Mark Millar's mouth were, "So, does anyone fancy another quick one before we go?" I just thought that was brilliant. A true Scotsman. Brilliant. Lovely people. But not the only people we've met today, Graham.
No, absolutely. I mean, across the board, I think the thing is, these comic creators, to us, they, due to their body of work, take on a huge status. It might be going a bit far to say a godlike status. But these are people we hugely admire, and as I say, these are the people who are on a par for us with movie stars and directors. They're up there with those sort of people.
If there's anyone younger listening, imagine how you feel about One Direction. Yeah. That's kind of how we feel about some of the people we've met today. Maybe not as maniacal.
I'm kind of willing to bet we don't have many One Direction fans listen to this podcast.
But why not? They're the biggest selling artist in the country, in the world. They're bigger than the Beatles, Graham.
Yes, indeed. But moving on. But of course, unlike movie stars, the vast majority of the world knows movie stars and movie directors. These people can walk down the street of their hometown and nobody knows them.
Indeed,
and it's only when they come to places like this that they suddenly attain this godlike status. And I think because of that, not only do they not have an ego about it, but they're genuinely pleased that you love what they do and you stand there and you don't just go up and say to someone, "Can you sign this book for me, please?" and they sign it and you walk away. You stand there for 3, 4, 5 minutes and have a good chat with them.
And you engage.
Absolutely, and they appreciate that, and they love the feedback that they're getting. And they love the fact that clearly you've read, looked at, and understood their work and appreciated it and can have an intelligent conversation with them. And these are people who do what they do by locking themselves away in their house. Writers will shut themselves away and write, because very few comic writers will write just one title. They'll be writing 4 titles, and therefore you've got 4 scripts to come up with every month. Artists obviously have to produce 22 pages per comic, and therefore these people, to say they don't get out much is a bit unfair, but they don't get out much. And therefore to actually,
nature of the job, isn't it?
So to create in such a vacuum, but then to come out amongst people who appreciate your work and want to discuss your work and show their appreciation, that's obviously very gratifying for them, and therefore they just really appreciate it. And it's nice. It's a very two-way street, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's really notable, particularly Mark Millar as well, because he's not actually signed to be at the con this year at all. He's just here as a guest. Sorry, not a guest, a visitor.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was here just having some drinks with his mates. So he didn't need to do it. He didn't need to sign any of our stuff at all, but he graciously did.
Yep.
But that is one thing I will mention as well. I'm not by any means saying that it's all right just to go up to people willy-nilly and say, "Can you do this? Can you do that for me?" You have to have a little bit of common sense, which it was kind of shown today, which you pointed out that Johnny Vegas was there with his son.
Yeah. So he was
as a
there,
visitor,
not as Johnny Vegas. He was there as a parent, taking his son to a comic convention, and his son was dressed up. And when we saw him, we were coming back from the pub, and suddenly, there was a guy on the steps, and I said to you, "Look, is that Johnny Vegas?" And you went, "Where?" And he went, "Oh God, it is." But we just saw him and walked past him and carried on, and his son got some photos taken with some stormtroopers, or guys dressed up as stormtroopers. But then within the con, suddenly you get people saying, "Oh, it's Johnny Vegas. Johnny, can I get a?" And it's like, he isn't there as Johnny Vegas.
No.
He's there as a punter. can you imagine what it would be like if all of a sudden somebody came up to you and said, "Here, mate, can I?" And 10 people wanted a photo with you. You'd be like,
"Just leave it out, please. Can you just give me a moment?"
I'm here to be a parent and to look at this stuff the same way you are,
But if you are at a con, only go and see the people who are behind desks, all right? Don't just mug people.
Absolutely.
Who else have we seen today, Graham?
Well,
who else have I fawned over? In particular, my first one of the day was Max Brooks.
Max Brooks, absolutely.
Who, as you well know, I just want him to adopt me.
Yes.
He is my favourite person in the world, I think, Max Brooks.
But again, for those of you who don't know him, Max Brooks is not only the author of the hugely selling Zombie Survival Guide, but also World War Z, which was made into a very successful film starring Brad Pitt. And he's written many other things. The reason he's there is he started writing some zombie comics called The Extinction Parade. But he's probably most famous for being the son of Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft.
Very much
so comes from a very famous heritage. Absolutely.
Hi, this is Max Brooks, and because you are cool and have some style, you're listening to Geek-Minded Fools.
But yeah, what a lovely, down-to-earth guy.
Oh, he's just brilliant.
Yeah, he will sit there and have a chat, and he signed your books for you, and I picked up a couple of trade paperbacks of Extinction Parade and the Harlem Heroes and got it signed, and you're meeting your heroes, and everybody says don't meet your heroes, but they don't disappoint. It's just wonderful.
You know when someone is being genuine, basically.
Oh yeah,
and I think I can happily say that everyone that we've met today has been genuine.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Garth Ennis, genuinely scary. But yeah, they've all been great, haven't they? They've all been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and Jonathan Ross, of course. And what a lovely, lovely man. And funnily enough, as I popped in to see my mum to give her a present for Mother's Day yesterday, and she said, "Oh, what are you doing this weekend?"
It's Mother's Day?
It is Mother's Day.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry, Scott's mum.
Eek.
He's dropped the ball again.
Yeah, both of them.
I'd mentioned some of the names that were going to be there, and I said, a name you'll obviously know is Jonathan Ross, and Mum said, "Oh yeah, you met him last year, didn't you?" And I was saying, "Yeah, he's such a nice, down-to-earth bloke." And of course my stepdad straight away says, "Oh, I can't stand him." And you kind of feel that what Jonathan Ross puts on television, the persona that he portrays, is almost his persona but sort of ramped up a bit in order to make things entertaining. Whereas, the guy's a comic geek. The guy has probably the most extensive comic collection in the UK, because obviously he has enough money to have bought everything.
Yeah.
And so he's not only knowledgeable, but the fact that he's been writing comics, he sort of started off with a series called Turf, then he did America's Got Powers, and now he's done Revenge. And funny enough, I spoke to Ian Churchill, who's the artist on Revenge, and asked him if the two of them were planning on working together again. He says, yes, we are. He says it's quite a personal project for Jonathan, but what I'm trying to do is convince him to do the art, because apparently Jonathan Ross is a very good artist.
Do you know, I did not know that.
I did not know that either. And what Ian Churchill said was he doesn't feel that Jonathan Ross has enough faith in his own art to be able to do it. So Ian Churchill said he's offered to do the layouts, which is basically where you do very rough, to show, what should go there, and have Jonathan Ross actually go in and do the art on it.
Hi, I'm Ian Churchill, and I'm the creator of Marine Man and writer of Marine Man and artist of Marine Man. So check it out and listen to Geek-Minded Fools as soon as you humanly can.
And, so therefore, to learn more about the creative process and future projects and stuff like that. But Jonathan Ross just comes across as a really, really lovely bloke.
He was.
When you were chatting to him, you were sort of chatting to him for quite some time, and he looked quite concerned. He was sort of looking at you, almost frowning. And I thought, well, what's Scott telling him?
Basically, in 2011, I was very unlucky and was attacked
in the London riots.
During the London riots, and they did a real number on me. They broke bones and cut me and left me pretty messed up. And while I was recuperating, I watched some really old episodes of his first TV show, The Last Resort, that I happen to have on VHS tapes. Which I told him this, and just told him, while I was a bit of a shut-in watching the reruns of Last Resort, it just really perked me up. And I kind of shook his hand and said, thank you very much. I've always enjoyed everything you do, and didn't tell him it for any other reason other than the fact it's the truth.
And yes, thank you. Yeah.
So it was a thank you. And I think when you are meeting people that you've got admiration for, you should thank them, and you should be honest about what sort of impact they've had in your life. Some people would listen to what I'm saying now and go, yeah, but Jonathan Ross is just a TV presenter. But he's not just a TV presenter to me, because much like yourself, we've known him, we've watched him since The Last Resort. And
Absolutely.
We've watched him come up through all the different shows, doing film, now working in comics, and he does feel like a very, very. He feels almost like a close friend that you feel like you can talk to him very easily.
We have kind of grown up with him.
We have very much so, and he didn't let me down at all. He was just a very, very compassionate, lovely, lovely man. So, Jonathan, if, as you promised earlier, you're listening to this podcast, thank you again.
Hello, this is Jonathan Ross, and you're listening to Geek-Minded Fools. What's wrong with you?
And we got lots of photos with these various people we're telling you about, which we'll be putting up on the Facebook page. So please do check that out, Geek-Minded Fools, to see some of those pictures.
So, day one.
Yeah.
Highlight of day one for you?
Oh, I mean, we've already gone over it, but...
It was the pub, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And not just being in the pub.
No, but seeing those 5 in the pub. But it's hard to pin it down, because I'm a huge Preacher fan.
As am I.
Yes, I can remember picking up issue 1 from a comic shop in Sutton that I was frequenting back in 1995 when it came out, and every month that Preacher came out, it was always top of my read list. Whenever I picked it up, it was always the first thing I read, and I absolutely adore Preacher. I mean, behind Starman, it is without a doubt my second favourite comic series. And I first met Garth Ennis back at the old UCAC, United Kingdom Comic and Art Convention in London in 96 and 97. And haven't seen him for a while. And the Preacher hardcovers came out, and I said to you, I'm desperate to get him to sign those. And to meet him again was just fantastic. And to get him to sign those hardcovers, and again, a very lovely guy, just have a chat with him whilst he's signing.
This is Garth Ennis, creator of Preacher, and you're listening to Geek-Minded Fools.
Another thing that was really good for me today was 2 years ago when we came to the convention, I asked an artist called Mark Farmer to do me a Human Torch sketch.
Do you know what? I'd forgotten that this happened today. I really had. Please carry on.
It has been such a full and fun-packed day.
Yeah.
Now, Mark Farmer is probably most famous for inking an artist called Alan Davis. And Alan Davis, back in the 80s, did Captain Britain and did his own title, Clandestine, and has done so much Marvel work. I think he's currently doing the Hulk, he's done Avengers, he's a hugely popular artist.
For anyone in confusion, this is not Alan Davis from QI.
No.
It's not Jonathan Creek.
Not at all, no. Alan Davis without an E.
Okay, there we go.
But Mark Farmer is obviously still a great artist, and asked him to do me a Human Torch 2 years ago. And I probably, on that day, got about 5 or 6 sketches, and yet when I showed them to everybody bar none said, "Oh man, that Human Torch one, that's fantastic."
And just for people at home as well, these sketches that Graham has been getting are on what are known as blank variant covers. These aren't just sketches in a sketch pad. These are effectively a comic with a blank white cover.
Yes.
It has its logo on the top or its title, and then the artist can then put his work on there.
This is it. So therefore, you're effectively getting a unique version of that cover. You're asking an artist to create a completely unique cover for that comic.
A one-off.
Absolutely.
Even if someone asks for the same, style, the same picture, it's never going to be the same.
Precisely.
Graham now is the only person who owns these, so so they're a real beautiful thing to own.
Absolutely. So having got Johnny Storm, the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four, I obviously thought, well, I need the other 4. So after that convention 2 years ago, I picked up 3 more copies of the blank Fantastic Four comic that I had. And this year, Mark was back, and so he was actually my first port of call.
He was.
When we went in, I went straight to Mark Farmer and said, "Can you do these 3 for me?" And
do you know what?
He hugely entertained you straight off the bat.
I think
joke of the day.
I think probably one of my highlights of the day. In fact, Graham obviously has just told you he had Mark do the Human Torch, so needed the other 3, which are Invisible Girl, Invisible Woman, Thing, and Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
So Graham handed Mark Farmer the blank variant covers, and Mark, well, there you go. There's your Invisible Girl. That was me gone. I just thought that was absolutely brilliant, because it was early in the morning. It was early this morning that we were in there, because we had the early bird tickets because basically we're Uber geeks, so we like to get in early. But yeah, to be that cheery that early in the morning and to be that quick. Just genius. Yeah. We liked him a lot.
Hi, this is Mark Farmer, internationally renowned inker for Marvel and DC Comics at the London Supercon 2015. You are listening to the Geek-Minded Fools. Bye!
I had a chat with him for about 3 or 4 minutes and then said, is it alright if I come back and get these and have a bit more of a look around? And he said, yeah, fine. So I sort of went back in a couple of hours and he'd done them and they are beautiful. The Thing, Mr. Fantastic, he's sort of done Mr. Fantastic with his neck stretching from the side, and the Thing, big and rocky as he always looks. Yeah. And the Invisible Woman, just beautiful. And so to have this set of 4 Fantastic Four variant blank covers now with original sketches by a great and
I must admit the one of Thing is absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
It is a really nice cover. We'll put some pictures up on the Facebook page for you guys to have a look at all our booty that we've managed to get today.
Yep.
I think for me, next to obviously meeting Garth Ennis and the guys in the pub
and Max Brooks,
do you know what? It's just all been brilliant, isn't it? I mean,
across the board.
But I do have to give honourable mention to Charlie Adlard, who is the artist for the hugely popular, and I can't ever see becoming unpopular, Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Who did for me an absolutely brilliant freehand sketch of a zombie, personalised to me. It's just jaw-dropping. It's just such a beautiful thing. It's not the artwork that amazed me, though. It was the speed in which he did it. Now, the only other person who I've seen draw in that short space of time was Dave Gibbons, which was at one of the UCACs when he did Batman for me.
Yeah.
Where he wasn't even looking at the page. He was just looking at me going, oh, really? Oh, yeah. And then he handed me this page. There you go. And it was a beautiful Batman. And Adlard did this again today.
I'm looking at it now, and it's a fantastic zombie picture.
It was under 60 seconds, I reckon he did that in. At the most, 2 minutes. It's just awesome.
And personalised, signed to Scott.
Yeah, because I'm not going to sell it. I think he was quite touched by the fact he said, oh, do you want me to personalise it? I went, well, yeah, of course. And he was like, oh, most people don't want them personalised. It was like, oh, okay. And I said, well, of course I want it personalised, Charlie. And he was just a really genuinely lovely guy.
Hi, this is Charlie Adlard, artist of The Walking Dead, and you're listening to Geek-Minded Fools.
It was very, very, very nice. There were a few people in the queue who had taken book 1 of Walking Dead, and he was so polite about it. He was like, well, I didn't
draw this one.
Didn't actually work on that. I can sign it, but... And, even then, some artists may say, well, that's not my work, and get a little bit snooty about it. But he was very kind, very polite and very nice to explain it to people. Because, some of the younger audience for Walking Dead might not, necessarily know.
No, quite.
But, yeah, just a consummate professional. They've all been brilliant. They've all been absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And I have to thank you as well, purely for the fact that you've put me onto a new Garth Ennis title.
Yes.
Which is called Crossed, which I'm very much looking forward to reading. It looks pretty damn good.
Yes,
I'm going to give that a go.
It is literally a graphic novel. There's some hugely graphic violence in there.
I spoke very briefly to a young girl in the queue where we were queuing to get the Ennis to sign some bits and bobs. I just happened to say to her, "Oh, have you read Crossed?" A friend of mine has suggested I read it, and she said. The only thing she said was, I've read about half of it, but it all got a bit too much for me.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, how so? She said, don't think graphic would be the word for it. So it sounds like it's going to be right up my alley.
Yes, they don't pull any punches. It's written by Garth Ennis with art by Jason Burrows, and it tells the story of an apocalyptic future whereby due to this event where this sort of bright light flashes... and no one really knows what caused it, but suddenly these people become infected, and the way the infection shows is that these people have literally a cross, almost like the flag of St. George, a cross across their face, almost burnt into their face, and these people effectively just sort of regress to an almost animalistic state, and therefore they just literally hunt in packs and just commit atrocities against the normal people, and it's almost like a zombie kind of thing. These people become the zombies, and these small bands of survivors or normal people have to try and survive. And the
artwork in this is by a chap called Jason Burrows, and I think did Burrows do the cover for this as well?
Yes.
It does hark to a little bit of Walking Dead,
absolutely,
doesn't it?
It
It
does,
is almost. It's quite Adlard-esque in its design. And I did point out to you earlier that there is a character there who looks just like Daryl from Walking Dead.
Yes, he
but
does
you know,
indeed.
the real Daryl. But yeah, great stuff. Absolutely great stuff.
Other people that I had stuff signed by were people like Adi Granov, who is a very famous cover artist. He's currently doing the cover art on the Darth Vader Marvel title, but also did some lovely variant covers for Amazing Spider-Man issue 1, going back to last year.
My name is Adi Granov. I draw lots of stuff, including the covers for Darth Vader at the moment, and you're listening to Geek-Minded Fools.
So I got loads of his stuff signed, and that's what I love about this con, is the fact that people will sign stuff for free, and it's people that you really admire. Another person I met was Tim Seeley, who's the writer of one of my favourite titles, Revival, which is published by Image. And I got some stuff signed by him, but I had a really nice chat with him as well, sort of about the title and the storyline and how long he's planning to run it for. And he was saying that we're currently on about issue 29, and he was saying that it's only going to run to about issue 51, 52. And I was like, no! And he was saying, but the good thing is we do have an idea where we could spin out of it and actually carry on. And I was chuffed a bit, but he was just a really nice guy and somebody that I had a Google on chat with, and also about a TV show that came out, Resurrection, that I think is on Channel 5 over here. And when I read the blurb in the TV pages, it sounded exactly like Revival, only about 2 years after Revival started.
Just a carbon copy, basically.
Pretty much, even to the extent that the main character, who's female, her father is the chief of police, and that's exactly the same in Resurrection as it is in Revival. And I was speaking to him about that, and he was saying that they were a bit pissed off about it, but it's Hollywood, and hey, what can you do? But again, just a really nice guy to meet.
Hey, this is Tim Seeley, writer of Revival, and you're listening to Geek-Minded Fools.
And Kieran Gillen, I had a really good chat with him. Funny enough, the bloke who was in front of me in the queue dropped his iPad as he was pulling his comics out, and everybody was a bit concerned about that, but he seemed to think it was all right.
Oh, this was the heavy set guy that was in front of you in the queue, yeah?
That's right, exactly. And Kieran was a really nice guy and had a chat, and I was telling him about the podcast, and he was asking about that, asking what type of show we did.
Hello, this is Kieran Gillen, writer of comics such as The Wicked and the Vine, Darth Vader, and other comics that I've just forgotten. You are now listening to Geek-Minded Fools on your podcast listening system. Thank you.
But again, just a really genuinely nice guy who was enjoying engaging with his customers, which is fantastic.
Or his audience, if you like.
His audience,
yeah,
good word,
yeah.
Yes, a much better word.
A much better word.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
I knew there's a reason I kept you around.
That's right, I'm a great fluffer. I stupidly as well, before we came up, I was obviously putting stuff together. And this is how much of a whirlwind each of these Comic Cons are. I put in my bag to bring up the Joker, the Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermeo, and then realised I'd actually already had it signed.
You already got it signed,
yeah.
He did that for you 2 years ago.
He did, yeah. I was drinking a lot 2
You were
years ago.
drinking a lot.
I was drinking a lot.
Hey, this is Lee Bermeo. I'm here at London Super Comic Con 2015. I hope you guys are reading Suiciders and enjoying listening to Geek-Minded Fools.
What didn't you like about the day, Scott?
What didn't I like about the day? There's only been one thing that's put a little bit of a blip on the day, and this is your hatred of cosplayers.
I hate cosplayers.
You can't stand them, can you?
Well, we hadn't even made it to the con. We walked from the hotel to the XL Centre, and as we entered it, it was so full of bloody cosplayers, or attention-seeking whores, as I obviously call them, ASWs. And what I don't get is that these people pay to come to a comic convention. They don't go into the comic convention to meet the stars. They stand outside it and pose and pout and wait for people to come up to them and say, "Oh, can I have my photo taken with you because you're dressed as Batman, or you're dressed as Poison Ivy, or you're dressed as somebody from manga," and I just hate everything about them.
My urge to go up to one half of the guys dressed as Daft Punk, which was inexplicable anyway, what Daft Punk were doing at a comic convention, but my urge to go up to one of the one dressed in white and say, "Oh, I love the Stig, can you sign this for me?"
This is it.
But I haven't got as much hatred in my heart for the cosplayers.
Well, funny thing, because I should point out that two people that we met there today was Mark, who's a very good friend of ours, who's been to the last, this is his third Comic Con with us, and he's a big comics fan, really knows his stuff. and also Dave, who's a friend of yours, who used to work testing video games with.
Indeed.
And the four of us were all there today, and it seemed like I was outvoted 3-1. You all seem to love it, but I'm not sure whether you love it because you like the idea of people dressing up, or you love it because you like the idea of young ladies dressing up in skimpy costumes, which sort of seems to be the ones that catch your eye.
I can see what you're getting at there.
Yes.
I can see what you're getting at. But when we were in the bar, I pointed out Barry Burton from Resident Evil.
What is it?
It's cosplay, Barry. Now, crack on. No, I understand what you mean. But then again, what is not to love about beautiful women dressed as superheroes? That's just a great thing, and I think that's an amazing thing.
Just don't.
I also think it takes a lot of courage as well for some of them to do it, because I don't
think it does. To me, to do it suggests that you have a massive ego, that you just think everything is about you. Because, like I say, they're paying to come to a comic convention, and not very few of them are going into the. Okay, you do see people walking round, but very few of them are in there doing what you're supposed to do at a comic convention, which is meet these great creators, engage with them, and get sketches and stuff signed. You don't see people dressed in Batman queuing up to meet Jonathan Ross. They're all stood outside posing.
Not even the sight of an Indiana Jones melted your heart, did it? That's all.
Just
are there any, not one single one today that you've seen that you've gone, do you know what? That's quite good.
I will say that the ones who wear helmets, completely cover their faces, are the ones that I have a bit more respect for, because clearly they're not wanting it to be about that. And the one that I saw that made me think, hey, that's cool, but only because I think it's the coolest Imperial outfit, there was a biker scout.
Which I'm gutted I didn't see, because I'm in complete agreement with you.
Yeah.
I think it is the best. Next
Absolutely.
to the original Stormtrooper,
Yes.
it's the best one.
Yep.
I can see what you're saying. But Graham, I'm not going to put it in room 101. Cosplayers are here to stay, and I think they make my day a lot happier, I think.
However, in my usual cruel way, I will say there was one thing about cosplaying that I do thoroughly enjoy that I witnessed today.
Okay.
And that was, there is a female version of Captain America who's part of, I think, the Young Avengers. And I can't remember her name. It's something like Young Liberty or something like that. And it's very much a Captain America type outfit.
I think I saw her, yeah.
Apart from she sort of has like a helmet on her head, but still has the shield and everything. And there was a girl there dressed as that, and a very sort of slim, attractive girl in this costume, very good costume. Didn't have the helmet bit on, so it was blonde hair, sort of tied back in a ponytail, and had the
gauntlet
shield.
Oh, sorry, okay, yep.
And so, was very popular, obviously, being quite an attractive young lady, and was sort of posing, and many people were coming up. And then she was quite near the entrance, and in walked another person dressed as this character.
Okay.
Who, let's say, was slightly more rotund than this young lady.
Okay.
Her costume was slightly shitter than this young lady's.
Okay.
And she didn't have a shield. And the fact that this girl had dressed up and made a big effort, and yet walked in and saw basically that someone was better than her, and you could just see the jealousy in her eyes and the hatred eating away at her.
Do you know, I really thought that story was going to have a happy ending.
And it absolutely cheered me up. I just thought, next time, don't fucking cosplay. Come in your civvies and get some books signed.
You are a disgusting man. You know that. Normally, it's my job to be the disgusting one, but that's a pretty disgusting thing that you just said.
It made my day.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, we've got another day of this tomorrow.
We have, and one thing I will say is though that when you're constantly queuing to get signatures and walking backwards and forwards, God, you don't have to get tired, don't you? I mean,
your dogs do bark.
You've actually said you're gonna have a bath.
I am going to have a hot bath.
Stretch out in a nice bubble bath,
but only if you'll scrub me back.
Yay. It does take its toll. I mean, the thing is, I brought so many books with me to get signed. It was a suitcase that actually almost made the lift break, didn't it?
It did, yeah. But it's all right, because it was only me in the lift, because Graham doesn't go in the lift.
I don't like lifts, so I took the stairs, and Scott very kindly risked his life.
I did.
By going up with my 3-ton suitcase.
Yeah. I imagine if the lift had have broken, you'd have prized the doors open and just shouted down, Scott! Are the comics all right?
Comics okay. So because I have this huge amount of comics to be signed and we're staying in a hotel, what I would do is take a rucksack full of books, go over there, seek people out, getting stuff signed, go all the way back to the hotel. And the hotel is a good 10-minute walk from the entrance to the con. And I must have done that about 5 times today.
I mean, I've got no sympathy for you, really, because you should not have been wearing spike heels.
But it was exhausting. Just go and get the book signed, shoot back, go again with more books. And it does take its toll. It does absolutely exhaust you. But you're just running on pure adrenaline because it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. And yeah, you know, the great thing is that when you and I first came 3 years ago, we met Norm at the Stanley event. And he was obviously somebody we podcasted with previously. The next year, the second year here, was when Mark started coming with us. And last year we had Steve who came with us for the first time, and this year Dave came with us, and it's sort of like our little family.
It's our extended family, isn't it?
Gets expanded by these things because people are into it. And one thing that I will say, that as a parent, I know that, you know, my comment about the upset cosplayer may make me seem like a heartless bastard, but as a parent, it's great to see parents who are obviously, the dad is the one who's into the comics, but they take the kids and the kids dress up because it's a great dress up thing, and that's great to see families coming out and enjoying this and actually being a part of it.
I did see a brilliant family today with a very young daughter. She was a tiny little thing and she was dressed as Rocket Raccoon, and it was just perfect, absolutely perfect. It's just an all-round brilliant place to be.
It is a fantastic
for a
event.
comic book geek. It's brilliant.
And as you say, we got another day tomorrow.
We have got another day tomorrow.
But I've got most of my stuff signed, which means tomorrow we can actually go around and relax a bit and not...
Well, you can do that. I'll be looking at the cosplayers.
Well, this is true.
Yeah.
In previous years, I seem to remember your favourite always being Harley Quinn.
And she will always be my favourite. But I haven't seen a good one this year.
I haven't seen a good one, no.
I've seen a lot of good Poison Ivies this year.
Right.
But not a good Harley Quinn. So... write that for next year, listeners, if you have any cosplayers are listening.
So yeah, I think that the London Super Comic Con has pretty much become a regular event on our calendar now, isn't it?
It has indeed, yeah.
And I think particularly having this podcast, it sort of gives us more access to the people that we're going to be talking about and whose work we are going to be discussing, and that just makes it sort of feel a bit more personal and making us part of the whole thing.
Yeah, much like them, we've been here from the beginning.
Absolutely.
The inaugural convention. I think we will carry on coming each year because it is great fun, isn't it?
Absolutely, and long may that continue.
Indeed, and I'll end, I think, with just a little part from
the Shakespeare quote.
I'd like to, but I don't think I've ever read any Shakespeare, Graham. Alas, I don't think I've. No, every year, obviously, at the con, you get a little goodie bag. You get a grab bag, and they give you this lovely little brochure. And there's just one little line in here that I think really sums it up. And it's only a few words. It just says, established? No. Growing and evolving? Yes.
Absolutely.
And I think that sums it up.
When you think about it, from the first year, they had one panel area. Artist Alley was about 3 rows of seats back then, whereas now it's huge. You know, it's expansive, and they are growing, and they are learning, and they are reacting to feedback. Yeah. And I think this show just gets better and better. And as far as I'm concerned, long may it continue, because it gives us a great weekend to just be geeks and sort of be amongst our own kind.
Apart from the cosplayers.
Yeah.
But all in all hail the London Super Comic Con.
Absolutely. Yep, very much so. Very much so. So, that's all for this week's episode from the London Super Comic Convention in Docklands for 2015. From me, Graham.
And myself, Scott.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.